Loud. There we go. All right, folks. Well, we're live. We're being recorded. So if you don't want your faces forever cemented in destiny, feel free to turn off your cameras. Welcome to Syelo Tank. Today we have David Head, CEO and founder of Endorsed AI. Endorsed AI, I'm not going to do the high level pitch because I don't want to not do it justice and I don't feel strong enough on it yet. But from everything that Mike and I have seen, it's pretty interesting. If I'm not mistaken, I want to call it next generation ATS. Would that be fair?
Yeah, close. We
Okay.
into the ATS. We're almost like a junior recruiter that goes into your ATS, but yeah, really, really close.
Okay. All right. See, I didn't want to misspeak. But David, we're excited to have you. Excited for you to present and tell us a little bit about what you're building. I'll hand on over the reins and we will get kicked off. David,
Awesome.
where are you? There you are, David.
I'm right here. Cool. Am I good to go, or is there like a
Yeah, are you able to share your screen right now?
yeah. Yeah, I can kick it
Okay.
off.
Cool. Let's go.
Cool. All right. So yeah, firstly, like thank you so much for having me, everyone here. I met Amir and Mike, geez, like a few weeks ago at a Syelo Tank event. And yeah, I love the community and it was great to hear firstly feedback. I was like, man, you all have such great perspective, of course. And then secondarily, I was like, oh wow, a lot of people have the problems that we're focused on solving. So it was especially great from that perspective. So looking forward to getting to know more of you all at future events. But to introduce myself here for a second, just confirming you can see the slide here. Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm David. I'm co-founder and CEO of Endorsed. I've been building recruitment tech for about 9 years now, mostly recruitment marketplaces. So I founded Freelance Marketplace, took that through Y Combinator a few years ago. We grew that to about 3,000 clients across 72 service verticals. Then I was also the second employee at one called Lasky, which sold to X and is now X Hiring. And then I was also senior PM at one called Brain Trust, where we raised about 140 million from Hire Global and Coinbase Ventures. And I was leading all of the matching product and algorithms there. So any of the product that would be used by talent to find jobs and companies to find talent, I was involved with. So last year, I was looking at like companies to found, and I was chatting with two of my friends, Jake and Kevin, on this, who are now my co-founders. And just to introduce them real quick, Jake's an ex-Apple engineer and ex-Life 360 engineer, where he was a director of engineering. He hired and recruited about 60 engineers that he was leading. And then Kevin is an ex-LinkedIn staff engineer over profiles and engineering manager over search. So between the three of us, we have a lot of experience recruiting and building recruitment tech. So naturally, we were looking at we were talking to recruiters and seeing, all right, what can we do here to help recruiters, specifically with looking at some of this generative AI tech that came out, like the tech behind ChatGPT? How can we think about things from first principles and build some technology with that? And the thing that we kept hearing was, people are getting hammered by applications, just so many applications, and it's taking away from that strategic work that recruiters need to be doing just with this repetitive, applicant review. So we decided to rethink some of the systems that I built in the past for this, again, from first principles, and just kind of redesigning it from the ground up. So yeah, that said, the big question that everyone's asking right now, including software engineers, is, will AI replace me? That's the golden question, and the thing that everyone seems to be kind of afraid of. And many companies these days are building AI with the idea of replacing people. We fundamentally don't think that is going to be the case. So firstly, we want to empower recruiters to work with AI to be able to hire better candidates more quickly and with less bias. And we think that fundamentally, a person plus AI is always better than an AI or just a person individually. So we think that everyone's just going to have basically an AI to amplify them in their job and effectively get promoted to doing that more strategic work, like I was mentioning. And that's what we're seeing so far. So we're seeing one recruiter reviewing applications effectively becomes four and can do their job better with more confidence with the product. So that's been pretty exciting so far. And you can kind of see, like, if you review at 2 candidates per minute, you're looking at these kind of time savings per day that can be focused on more strategic work. We have a handful of awesome customers so far, including Italic.com, the consumer products brand, and then also Ashby, the ATS, has been using us internally to review. some great logos here. And we're also excited to, we have some really great logos that are in the sales pipeline now and in trials that we'll be excited to add here in the next few weeks. We've also raised some venture funding. So just to mention our investors real quick, we've 5VC, Liquid 2, Orange Down, Pioneer Fund, including some future work investors, people with experience in that space, and also Joe Montana, who's a famous athlete. So, all right, before I give you the demo here, let's just focus on the problems of applicant review right now. Because like if you're a popular company, you're getting hundreds of thousands of applications on individual jobs, and then you combine that together, and like one user that we have like in our sales pipeline right now, they get 100,000 applications per month. It's insane. So that causes about up to $1 million a year you're spending on applicant review for people, which is a tremendous amount of money. But the big problem here is, firstly, you miss top applicants. If you have a top applicant that's buried in the stack, you don't review them for sometimes days, weeks, months, they'll get a job somewhere else and you'll totally miss them. Then also, again, it takes time away from being able to do that more strategic work and individually working with candidates, because you're just burning like hours per day, sometimes doing it. Also, poor candidate experience. We hear from candidates all the time, and I've heard this for years, building systems in the past, where they're like, why didn't I get some sort of message? I'm just getting ghosted. Why didn't I get picked? Like how do I improve? People want to know how to improve, and there's not really a way to it's not humanly possible to email 1,000 people with like well thought out personalized messages right now. And then finally, human bias. Anyone reviewing hundreds of applications, they'll start off fresh and you can be pretty diligent, comprehensive in your review. Then after a few hundred applications, it's just like, all right, I haven't heard of this university. I haven't heard of this company. This person doesn't have the job title. And then you're kind of over-indexing on a few items, not looking at the candidate comprehensively. So there's this human bias element too that's an issue. Compounding all this, we're about to see applicants multiply, because I don't know if you've seen all these tools out there, but there are probably 4 dozen tools right now where someone can use an AI to apply to jobs on their behalf. So whatever the applicant volume is right now, like if last year someone could apply to 10 jobs per week, now they can do 100, or if they want to do 1,000, it's really however many they want. And the AI can just do it for them. So this is about to become more and more of a problem. So here's how Endorsed drives value. Firstly, increasing the quality of your hires. Those top applicants, when they apply, you can have them immediately show up right in front of you, and you can advance them. So even if you have 5 minutes a day, you can get them in your sales pipeline and schedule interviews for them. Then nextly, saving, again, hours per day, where you can just, like the people that clearly aren't a good fit, oftentimes it could be like 90% of people just aren't good fits. You can be able to easily move those into a rejection pile. And then you have all this time back where you can spend it individually with hiring managers, individually with candidates, to help them get hired, and generally do that more strategic work. Then finally, improving candidate experience. We can AI personalize rejection messages that help candidates understand how they can improve, and that sort of thing, and give them advice. Lastly, reducing bias. So no matter how big the applicant stack is, we can comprehensively and diligently review every applicant in there and have generally less bias involved. So yeah, with that said, I'm really excited to give you a demo of this and show you how Endorsed can help you do all these things. All right. So let's say that we are a recruiter at Google and we are hiring for the senior software engineer role for Google Cloud. We have, of course, the minimum qualifications here and also the preferred qualifications on the job description. So if we plugged this into Endorsed, just as is, what we would see is if we have, say, these demo applicants that we have on here right now, this is all just fake candidate data. What we would see is a ranked list of people meeting or don't meeting this criteria, not meeting this criteria, and the people that meet the most criteria show up at the top. Very simple. And if we scroll down, we can see the people that don't meet more criteria are listed there. So you have a nice ranked list with exactly what you are searching for in these candidates. So yeah, you can imagine how this would look if you had 1,000 candidates in here. You would, again, be able to have this simple ranked list and be able to move through it faster. One thing to call out is, again, this is not a sourcing tool. So these applicants are all coming from your ATS, the job description, the job postings that you have. Candidates apply, they pipe in here. So This said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this all is connected under the hood, how we train this AI, how we can train it to do better work, and then we'll dig into a little bit more detail on this screen. So firstly, we hook up to about 48 different ATSs right now. Here are a few. And say we're using Greenhouse, and that's what's connected. So if we go into our jobs page here, say we had 3 jobs. All your jobs get synced inside of Endorsed regularly, and the candidates that have applied, both now and in the past, so that we can help you leverage your ATS. So in this case, let's look at the senior software engineer role again, and we'll go into manage job here and actually be able to see how the AI is being programmed. So firstly, a little bit of framing. Again, you can think of Endorsed kind of like a junior recruiter. This is fundamentally very different from past systems in the sense that, again, this human plus AI, Endorsed has no real algorithm. Like there's always the question, like, how's the algorithm constructed? What is the algorithm doing? You are the algorithm is the best way to think about it. Like if you were to tell me and train me how to recruit for a role and how you think, that's exactly how Endorsed operates. So it's pretty cool from that perspective. And the reason we've designed it this way is because, if going back to this JD, we have the info on the JD. Yeah, a computer could read that. But there's a human element that's not here. And job descriptions are notoriously just hastily written by hiring managers. And when you interact with hiring managers, you know that there's actually a lot more criteria here that they want that is not included here and would be really impossible for a machine to predict. So what we've enabled you to do with Endorsed is to factor that criteria in. So in this case, let's add 2 more pieces of criteria. Let's say the hiring manager really wants someone from a prestigious university. You think like, I don't really care about that. I want someone that's more, just we're focused on their skills and their experience. But that hiring manager is probably not going to want to hire them unless they went there. So let's prioritize some people in the stack to just have these bubble more up to the top. So this is what the AI reads here. And then this is what we read, and this is the label showing up inside of the cards that we just saw. And these are just copy pasted right now, straight from this job description. So it has graduated from prestigious university, so we'll call this top university. And then maybe the other thing is say this isn't Google, say this is a fintech company. Say has worked in fintech. Now I want you to notice something here. Historically, like Booleans and string searches and filters, that was the state of the art that could be really used for searching through applicants. Now, our AI has read the entire internet. It understands context and all sorts of different domains. So you can say something abstract like fintech, and then it's going to know, okay, is this a fintech company? Is the candidate describing work they've done, and this is work that's unique to a fintech company? Maybe it's like certain engineering systems, that sort of thing. So you're able to really broadly understand these things. And in some cases, say it's a international university, a university in a different country than yours, you've never heard of, and that's actually a really prestigious university that you might miss. And honestly, like my co-founders and I will audit the AI all the time and say, all right, did it get this right or did it get this wrong? And a lot of times we're like, oh, it got this wrong. And then we'll realize that we were wrong and we just didn't know everything. So I'll show you what this looks like to have the AI review these 2 pieces of criteria and update the stack rank that we just generated. All right. So under the hood right now, the AI is doing its review. And we're also stripping out any PII from the AI as well, so that there's a little bit more candidate privacy there. And this is going to help us, again, understand if candidates are the best fit, regardless of their background, just based on the criteria we're looking for in a much more unbiased way. And any of the top candidates get re-ranked. And again, they just bubble up to the top here so we can see who the best people are. So the question here, and this is the kind of the key issue that I've had in the past with these tools, is if you don't trust the AI, then you're not going to be able to advance the top people. You'll still look through every single candidate in the stack, and it won't save you time. So anyone who's used ChatGPT knows that, hey, this thing and generative AI, they get things wrong all the time. It makes mistakes all the time. Like half the time, ChatGPT is wrong, but you develop a trust for it and are still able to really use that to leverage your your effectiveness, because you start to get a feel for how accurate the AI is. And we've gone to extreme lengths to make the AI as accurate as possible. I'm proud to say the most accurate applicant review system for AI, or candidate review system, that I've seen. If you found another one that's more accurate, love to know. But we've gone to extreme lengths to make it accurate, and it is well above 50% accurate on some of these criteria. It's like close to 100% accurate, and we're constantly improving this. So the question is, well, how do you determine the accuracy? Well, you can look at each of these criteria and look at the resume, but that's going to take a while. So we built a faster way for you to audit. If you mouse over any of these items here, you get a AI written explanation for its reasoning. So, okay, we needed 5 years of experience here with software engineering. And in this case, the AI says, the application states that the candidate has been a technical founder at Acme Data Analytics since 2017, which implies over 5 years of experience in that role. So if we go over and look at the resume here, that's correct. And you can see this across each of the criteria and get a custom written audit message. All right, so that's the explanations piece and how you can build trust with the AI. Now, let's say we're advancing and rejecting candidates and going through our workflow. So let's say here, Javier is a great fit. We like Javier. We want to advance Javier. Now, what's happened is that we're able to sync the stage with the ATS, with Greenhouse, so that you're able to have a more smooth workflow. Maybe you have automation set up in Greenhouse so that an email will go out after they're advanced. That'll all still be able to be triggered here. So we've advanced Javier, and then maybe we want to go through these ones at the bottom of the stack and see, who are these people that haven't met the mark? All right, this person has 3 years of experience in product and leadership, but they're missing all these other marks. So we can more confidently reject them, and it hasn't worked here. And going back to this piece that I mentioned of better candidate experience. All right, how do we help these people know how to improve and why they didn't get picked? It's an upcoming feature that we're working on right now, which is that personalized message. So we can include information that's here, that's like, all right, you didn't meet this qualification, and we can also remove like a lot of the stuff you're probably not going to want them to know, that maybe is hiring managers information that they really want, or their criteria they really want. But you can have these personalized messages, which we're building in. Then the second feature that I'm super excited about is past candidate search. So what do I mean by that? A lot of companies, larger companies, you have millions of candidates in your ATS, and that you can't search through them with your existing tools. Like Greenhouse's search feature isn't powerful enough. So most of the time, with I think every recruiter I've really spoken with to date, and I've spoken with like somewhere around like 1 to 200, no one can do this really well, where they're like, all right, I opened up a new role, let me go through everyone in the past. We can have the AI, we're about to be able to have the AI do that. They'll be able to go through each candidate that's applied in the past with a ATS of any size and see, okay, is this person more qualified than Arnav here? And they'll sit right in the stack. So you'd be able to see, like, maybe they're better than anyone else who's applied. You can see exactly where they fit. And then you can also just search through the ATS broadly that way. Then the question becomes, well, if they applied 2 years ago, what are they doing now? Are they still even a software engineer, or are they a PM? Or like maybe they weren't a good fit, but now they've advanced in their career tremendously. We can update their profiles by importing their LinkedIn profiles into Endorsed and then feeding that into the AI to read, so that you'll always have up-to-date profiles on all your past applicants, and you can maintain the relationship with them a little bit more easily. Elaborating on this notion of importing data. A lot of times, you'll want to see, like, all right, what are these companies? Zendesk, Casper, who knows? You look them up and want to see, like, all right, did they raise funding? Like all these kind of pieces of data about this company. Or maybe you're hiring for a PhD role and you're like, what is the research they've done? How many citations do they have? Well, we can save you time doing that, and also help you be more diligent by doing this thing we call profile enrichment. So we can import, again, any of the LinkedIn data about both the individuals and the companies that they've worked at, as well as any of these other kind of data sources, so that you can have a more comprehensive review of these candidates, which is pretty exciting. So Yeah, that is talent review inside of Endorsed. And again, we're seeing customers sped up by about 4x right now from it and reviewing with more confidence. So the last thing I'll mention here is we have a deal that we're running right now for Syelo Tank. 10% off for the first year, and also another 10% off if we can if you can sign with us by end of May. Why end of May? Because we're about to do another fundraising round, and any amount that you'd help boost our numbers by moving a little bit quicker, we would be happy to extend a little better of an offer for. So yeah, this is the last thing I'll mention, and now I'll open it up for questions.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Always appreciate a good discount.
Yeah.
Let's go. All right, folks. Well, as y'all know, this is where we open it up. So if you want to ask a question, please go off of mute. Shoot away. It's open forum. If you want to type a question inside the chat box and have myself or Mike read it, happy to do that too. But yeah, we'll hand it on over.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, David. My name's Jenny. Thank you so much for that. It seems really exciting. And I was going back to my agency days a couple decades ago, and there was a tool whose name I could not remember, but I absolutely loved it. It was, pre-AI popularity and went away. And this reminds me of the power of that tool. There was a feature that you didn't talk about on the left drop down that you could toggle remove bias. Would it be possible for you to reopen that screen and maybe take us through what that would look like, bias removal?
Yeah, definitely. So this is something we're basically removing human bias, the ability to remove human bias here. So we actually need to update this one. No one for some reason has requested us updating this yet, but removes the names and then would also hide this whole side panel. So then you're only looking at the criteria that you've said is important, and you're not biasing yourself as much. And this is something where we believe it's going to be like updated to maybe even be able to remove like university or things like that, where again, just looking at this sort of thing, you could say, oh, they went to Harvard, but well, they don't meet all this other criteria. So it's an ability to remove that human bias is the idea.
Yeah, great. Thank you for showing that. Also, you were talking about the accuracy of the AI in comparison to other tools, and it sounds, really powerful. However, there's also the comparison to humans. So if you are taking away the element of time and you're simply focusing on accuracy, what are some of the criteria that are close to 100% accurate versus the criteria that are less accurate? And in terms of those criteria that are less accurate, what are you finding clients, the human team of your client companies are sort of taking a second look at candidates' resumes and comparing that to the AI such that they don't miss anyone? Yeah, let's start there. And then I do have one more follow-up question.
Yeah, sure. Great question. Yes, the question is what is the criteria that the AI will frequently miss on or get right more accurately? And then how do we think about an AI versus a human just in general without removing time? So I'll answer the second question first. There are definitely some things that humans are better at getting than the AI getting right. But there are also a lot of things that the AI is better at getting right. Like, again, going back to this notion of, well, do you know about this university, or do you know about this tool? Or like, I'm hiring for a React engineer. Well, it says they know Next.js. Like, is your recruiter technical? Do they know that Next.js is a React framework? So if you know Next, then you know React. All these kind of associations the AI can pick up on. So, and then it actually can educate the human to know that, hey, there are all these other things out there, and just improve their understanding. But there definitely are a lot of things that a person will get better at. So like one of the things that we need to tune up, but hasn't been something that people have complained about enough for us to prioritize, is time zones. Like right now, if you say, all right, I want someone who's within 4 hours of PST. We'll see the accuracy of the AI miss fairly frequently on that one. And this is something where if you're using the product, it's like, all right, well, can I trust it? You get the feel pretty quick of what it's gonna get right and wrong. And like with that one, you'd say, all right, well, I need to look at that criteria myself, but my stack rank's still way better, and I could go through this top people and just look for that one. As far as what it gets right, it's the things like fintech company, knowing the companies like that, a bachelor's degree, it gets right often. And really you can think of it as like, generally the way you can think of it is if the information is there and it's like a more objective answer, yeah, I'll get it right. But if it's some really nuanced information, like, all right, this person worked at a Series B startup that IPO'd, and we would have to do a lot of figuring out, like, all right, well, when did they join? What was the funding rounds? This is something that we're going to actually build into the AI. It's something that's on our roadmap, and we'll have it be able to solve. But if you don't have the information there, it doesn't know. And then the real tricky part where it's where things are contested is when it's we call it like depends on who you ask. All right, so one like a prestigious university. Well, where's the line drawn for that? Is it like Ivy League, or is it like top, 20th? Do they only accept like 20% of people or 10% of people that apply? That can have a lot of ambiguity. And when that happens, what we recommend is going back here and adding more color to the prompt here and saying, all right, well, get more specific. Like if I was a human you were training and I was saying, well, I have my idea what a prestigious university is. Everyone does. You would be able to say, no, we're looking for like this kind of university, David, do this. And if you can describe to me what you're looking for, then you should be able to describe it to the AI here, and tune up the accuracy that way. So that subjectivity is always a challenge from a user education perspective.
Sorry, Jenny, did you have one more?
I did just want to ask one follow-up question on there. So those examples that you gave related to like fintech or a degree, I noticed on the candidate profile, can't remember the name of the candidate, but they had a master's, but didn't list a bachelor's degree on their resume, but were marked as having a bachelor's degree. So is that something else that is like intuitive? Well, if you have a master's, it's assumed that you have a bachelor's.
Yeah, good question. We've run into this one a few times, and like, yeah, generally it knows, but if you're noticing that it does get that sort of thing wrong, you can just say, you can explain the logic in the prompt again. You could say, if they have a master's degree or a PhD, assume they have a bachelor's degree, and you can just clarify, and then it should get all of them right.
And how do the recruiters or the team members using this tool know what information to put into the criteria per your example of like React versus Next.js?
Yeah, so it's really like what's on the job description and what's in the hiring manager's mind. And the way that we'll train people, we do onboarding calls with everyone right now and make sure that everyone understands how to use the tool properly. Then we'll do a second one where it's like, all right, how are you doing on this? All right, is the accuracy good? Is your rank good? Let's tune it up and teach everyone. And we have some documentation on this as well. But yeah, it's we'll generally approach the education that way. And then also there are some things on the roadmap that we're about to do, which is the AI can tell you how to write the criteria better. So when you're filling things out here, the AI can kind of suggest, like, all right, here's how you may want to write this criteria, or you're writing this criteria in a biased way. Maybe you should change things.
Interesting.
Thanks. Go.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jenny, if you have more, keep going.
Let's let other people ask questions.
Yeah.
I can always jump in later.
I know Amir was asking about cost.
Yeah. So just what is the product cost?
Yeah.
So yeah, right now we're generally focused on getting more users in here, learning more, and that sort of thing. We're pricing it at a fairly low rate compared to all the other tools that are out there. So it's again per application reviewed, and it starts at 20 cents per application reviewed. And that will scale down with volume. So if you have 5,000 applications per month, it'll drop down to 16 cents. If you have 10,000, it'll be lower. If you have, 100,000 per month, it'll be lower. So we've just scaled everything that way to start.
Do you sell them in packages, or is it literally like AWS credits?
Yeah, good question. It's in packages, so you pay quarterly, have a number of reviews over that quarter, and then and yeah, the more reviews you have, the lower the cost, and there are a few other little perks in there from a feature perspective.
Got it.
So
And
if
what's
if you
average
go-
cost? And what's the average cost of the product?
It depends on like again how many applications you get. Like I mean it's pretty standardized on that pricing scale. So I'm not sure just amongst all orgs like what the average amount of
Let's
applications.
say you're getting 5,000 applicants per month. Let's do some quick math. That would
Yeah.
be $1,000. Is that right?
So that would be 16 cents
Oh,
16
16
per.
cents.
So let's see if you're getting 5,000. Yes, that'd be $800 a month.
Got it. Awesome.
Thank you.
Before we go down a math rabbit hole, pricing, David, let me you. I had more of a origin story question. I'd really love to, and I love your background and your team's background, like we heard, but I'd love to better understand, why you built this, why this problem. We fall in love with problems and then figure out how to solve them, but I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Yeah, definitely, Andy. Yes, I'm sure my co-founders would have different answers than me, but if I was just lasering on me personally, I built tools like this in the past. Again, in my last job, even like I was lasered in on one of these, and the challenge that I had with it was we would push out algorithm updates that were great, and then it was for a marketplace, and there'd be an internal team that would review candidates before showing them to the hiring managers, and they would always review everyone, and we were always saying like, all right, well, how do we make it so they don't review everyone? And the fear was always, well, what if the AI missed, or what if the algorithm missed, and then the great candidate's somewhere else in the stack? And it was just always worth it for people to review everyone. And the thing that I'd also see is bias. Like they'd say, oh, well, I know this person works really well, and like they're good. So if they saw familiar names, they would just pick them, and there could be a better candidate in that stack that would be a better fit for the job. And it was always just something that was super challenging to me. And then when I saw generative AI came out, the two unlocks were more precision and the explanation. So people could understand why the rank was why it was. So I was like, all right, finally I can solve this problem that I've been so locked in on over time.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I have a quick one if no one else has anything else right now. But I'm curious how you came about the decision to monetize in the way you did.
Yeah, good question. We don't think it's the best pricing model, but it seems to work for now. Generally, like candidly, like the amount we're spending on the AI is tremendous right now. We actually really don't make money on the current system. We have to do a lot of upgrades to make it a lot more affordable, but it's sort of cost constrained right now. And the plan is I think it's realistic in like 6-12 months that we are able to drive the cost down to a certain level where we can make it more simple for people and just say, okay, maybe you have this many recruiters using the tool, you can just have unlimited applications using it, and there's something like that. But yeah, it was sort of just the best model that we could have work with our cost structure for the time being.
Got it. Makes sense. Yeah.
I got a question for you. For every action, there's a positive or equal reaction, right? So I get it from the employer side, but what about from the candidate side? Like now these, AI beating bots are proliferating. They're a lot of times free, or relatively cheap. Candidates are they're kind of desperate, so they're going to invest in these tools to beat the bot, beat the ATS. How does your platform address that?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so there's sort of the old way and the new way. The old way of beating the ATS was, well, you can like create white text and just stuff all sorts of keywords in there, and hopefully you'll get picked. That of course doesn't work in the system. Like the AI understands context. It doesn't work. So the new way of doing it, if I was like a candidate, advising some candidate to beat the system, would be personalize your resume for every job and tell us, all right, look at the job description and say, all right, here's what I've done that's relevant to this job. Here's what I've done that's relevant to this job. Harder to do with AI in a way it's like factual, but you're having more personalized resumes, and that actually is good. That actually is good for everyone, including like the AI, the recruiter, because then you don't have just generic experience and it's just more targeted, and maybe this more nuanced thing that someone's done that they didn't include on one resume then shows up in your system. So I think it works better for everyone that way if they like try to just get every advantage they can over a job.
So like I think I could be wrong. I think the methodology right now is like people use AI to build resumes that very, AI implements all the buzzwords in that resume so that they can get past the ATS.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to call I can't think of another better word. I can't think of a better word, so I hate to call it this, but I mean it's kind of like spamming the system, right? How do you address the spam component? Like, doesn't that kind of level out the ability to filter? If you're getting better spam, smarter spam, then isn't it kind of just breaking even in terms of like the experience? Like, are we radically improving the experience? Or are we breaking even on a problem like around spamming?
Yeah, good question. So, like to be clear, you're thinking like, okay, the AI reads the job description and tells the candidate, okay, stuff it with like JavaScript, React, Angular, if it's for a
write a job description that has all the following buzzwords. Exactly.
Okay, yeah, two things I'll mention there is one, again, like that may work with past systems, does not work with our system. It doesn't matter how many times you say JavaScript, because we're not Boolean searching, and the AI is not doing searches like that. It's actually reading everything, understanding everything, and seeing, is this candidate a good fit? We could theoretically just see, all right, is this thing keyword stuff? Like it's sort of like 1998 SEO, people would do this. But if we look at each of these candidates here, like a bachelor's degree, okay, if you keyword stuffed your resume with React, is the AI going to say that, more likely to say that you have a bachelor's degree? No, it's not. Same thing with engineering, 5+ years of experience in engineering. If you keyword stuff your resume with JavaScript, it's not going to matter. The only situation in which that may be relevant is if you say, like, do they have JavaScript experience? And then it's like, yes, they said JavaScript, 50 times.
If they lie.
Yeah, so it really just isn't effective with the current system that we've built here, but definitely probably would be effective with other AI applicant review systems.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting because they still have to interview for the job after this. So,
of course.
Yeah. It looks like Mike asked about analytics that Endorsed provides to show how many candidates actually were qualified for the job they applied to.
We don't have anything like that yet, but we have some in development, and basically when enough people request it, we'll prioritize it and release it. But yeah, analytics are generally something that we're planning on building a lot of.
Got it. Any timeline or
so David, man, the reason I mentioned that is that there's other systems that are like this, and like for you guys it would be beneficial to show them the value. Like your slide opened up with the amount of time of hours that is. The other side of it too is being able to write job descriptions. I can't tell you how many hiring managers I've written over the years that ask the recruiting team, can you guys give me a job description for this job that I want to hire? That ends up being very generic, right? So being able to match both sides of that, one from the candidate side, two from, your own team's ability to write better job descriptions about what we're looking for, to narrow both sides of that down.
Okay, yeah, that's great feedback. I just wrote both of those down. So yeah, helping write job descriptions, and then also showing how much time savings and that sort of thing are there.
Yeah, because if you want, like you're talking about, like we have 300 applications for an engineer in a week, right? The larger company that you are, the more applications that you get. If you guys are doing this a price per app model, right? That company that has 50,000 applications per month And if it turns out like the reality is about, 10, maybe 15% on the top end are actually qualified applicants, then we're paying all this money. And basically the general thing is to filter it out. I've seen this in past companies where when you have that volume, recruiters will look through like the first 30 or some number and be like, yeah, I found 6 people out of them. I'll forward them to the manager, and everybody else can sit there for the next couple of weeks till we move them through. Right.
Yep.
Going back to your point of missing some of the really talented people that have applied that sit on the sidelines because of that.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Did you have a question there? Sorry, I might have missed it.
No, that was more of like a statement for
Yeah.
a reason why.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, totally. It's if I've heard of the same thing. Yeah, recruiters will just go through there. All right, there are enough top applicants, good applicants here, and then maybe there's someone better that's sitting in the stack. Yeah.
To kind of take what Mike was mentioning and kind of taking to the next step, because now I think the big thing is quality of hire, right? All the executives want to know, all of that. Like, I guess Endorse might be a good place, especially from like the application point of view of like, was that a successful hire later through? Is that something that you're thinking of putting in the roadmap, especially as you're thinking of building out analytics?
Yeah, definitely. So sort of like tracking, okay, if we suggested this candidate at the top of the list and that was based on your criteria, like was this actually the person who got hired or not? Definitely, yeah. We want to improve the system as much as possible in relation to those value props that we mentioned. So yeah, it's something that absolutely we want to dig into.
Cool.
Yeah, I love all these suggestions, by the way, and like kind of ideas too. I appreciate all the like feature brainstorming and stuff. If anyone else has other ideas, would love to hear.
Going once, going twice. Any last questions for David? Because then we're going to flip it around. And David, we're here in the last 10 or so minutes to answer any questions that you may have. Folks? No? Man. All right. I always come in with so many questions and then I have to hold back. And now I just want to ask more questions. But let's be respectful to David. David, excited to have had you here. Thank you for making time for us. This is where we flip it around. What questions can we answer for you? This is open to the general public, general forum. You can have us respond in the chat so that it doesn't get too convoluted and loud. But yeah, throw us something if you have anything. Otherwise, thank you for the time and we'll give you back 13 minutes of your life.
No, I have a ton of questions. I'm always eager to learn more about just anyone in recruiting and just understanding your worlds better. One question I have or two, can we run a poll, Amir? Is that possible?
I believe so.
We
Can you
are.
hear me?
Yeah, we are running a poll. So
Okay.
anybody who got that poll question, it's actually in the chat box all the way at the top.
Oh, very cool.
So if you click
Okay.
that link, yeah, I think that would be
There it
helpful
is.
for.
Okay, great.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if everyone here can please complete the poll, that would be super, super helpful. Yeah, that would just be super, super helpful.
Yeah, would really appreciate that. It's yeah, I mean, how many applications you're getting across all jobs combined versus just one job on average? That's the first question. To make sure I clarify that one. Just give like a minute for everyone to do that one.
Oop.
I'm guessing you guys can see these come in here, Mike.
Yeah, I think I made it so that it was sort of anonymous, and then we can share, yeah, sort of results later.
Okay.
With you.
Cool. All right, so yeah, I can just jump into the other questions. So for those of you that are currently using AI applicant review tools or applicant review tools, I'm curious what you're using and just how you like it so far, and if it works or doesn't work, or any sort of improvements that you might want for it.
I mean, I'll speak from moderating this week's and I think Mike should probably too. And if Sabrina, if you're here, maybe the three of us should tackle this question. So David, bi-weekly we hold pods and we hold discussions, and this was coincidentally a conversation for this week, which we had yesterday. From my pod, they're the tools that it's the big three, right? It's Lever, Ashby, and Greenhouse. None are perfect. All have positives and negatives. You have some fans of certain brands. Like I really like Greenhouse, or I really like Ashby, I really love Lever. The best thing that I heard in terms like from a conversation that we had is like why Ashby is winning right now and doing a really good job at getting new customers. And this was not me. This was one of our community members who identified this, is that Greenhouse and Lever in tech are old technology now, right? They're old, antiquated software that doesn't work for modern recruiting processes. So when a product, so like every 8 years, every 10 years, right, when a new product comes out that ultimately optimizes the recruiting funnel a little bit smarter, it's going to do better than the previous behemoths, right? Yeah, I take no credit for that. I thought that was genius. So yeah, that's what I came away from my pod. Mike, you wanna take the next one?
I can jump into Mike's.
I'm stuck on mute. Sorry. Go
Okay.
ahead, Sabrina, and then I'll go.
So from an ATS standpoint, so my group actually had conflicting views on Ashby. Some people loved it, some people didn't. I've used Ashby as a user, and we were talking about how you can tell like a developer created the user interface because there's a lot of like logic trees. But once you know the actual ATS, it's really like good to use. But we also did the big ones, Greenhouse, Lever. We talked a little bit about Breezy HR, which is more for like kind of startup-y feel. And that's on the ATS side. On like more of like kind of sourcing and like pulling from AI. Other big ones as well, Gem, Seek Out, Hire Easy. Career Place was a new one that I hadn't heard of. So that was another one that we've been just kind of using for sourcing as well, or people have been using for sourcing in our group.
Got it. Yeah, thanks. Are there any that are tools that are like plugged in to ATSs that you've used, or have you ever used any tools like that in the past where there's sort of like an extension on top of it? Like
I think so. Just to jump in, like in my group, I think a lot of what we were talking about does integrate with like Greenhouse, Lever, Ashby. Those are usually the three we're talking about. Anyway, and then we talked about Fetcher a bit, more of a outbound sourcing tool. And I'm trying to think. It looks like you guys already covered, and Kobe as well. But it looks like everything else was already covered in the other pods.
Got it. Did you use Covey's applicant review tool at all? I'm curious what your thoughts on like the accuracy in that tool in particular are.
So I actually have not. I don't know if anybody on the call has. Has anybody on the call?
Oh, sorry, Mike. Yeah, you take it.
Yeah, has anyone on the call used Covey before?
Yes.
I've heard good things, but I also, yeah.
Yes, we were talking about Covey in the meeting just the other day.
Yeah.
We used that. We replaced Gem with Covey, and
That's
we
right,
haven't
Mike.
been on Covey for a year, so I can't speak to what they've been doing for the last year, but it was a great tool.
Interesting. Okay, so you liked Covey more than Gem.
A lot more.
Oh wow. What did you like about it?
The main thing that it was 25% more effective in identifying the proper contact information based off the amount of emails opened.
Interesting. Okay.
So we went from 50% on Gem to 75% deliverable and open. So there's some variable there, like, hey, maybe this person just didn't open the email, but in most cases, after, say a month period of time, they're going to have, opened it. But to see that variation, there are some other features that went into Covey, like they had what used to be Roykoi, a company did the same thing. And basically what that is like you get all of your employees to upload their LinkedIn contacts and then go through and select which ones and have basically an automated referral service, right? So similar to looking at past applicants, like you're doing, right? I think that's one of the benefits that you guys can provide is that each time a new job opens, you're searching the ATS, because I can tell you right now, Greenhouse is terrible at searching their own system.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from everyone.
Yep.
Okay,
Still
interesting.
true.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Mike.
Sure.
So you mentioned a lot of like the sourcing features within Covey. Did you ever use their applicant review product?
They didn't have that at that time.
Oh, really? Okay, so that's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, because it's pretty interesting. The way to build a sourcing, like the back end building a sourcing tool versus an applicant review tool is very different because you have to filter down from like, 800 million people out there to, like a list of 50 with the sourcing tool versus an applicant review. You're filtering from like 1,000 or so to a ranked list. And the degree of accuracy that you're able to do with each system is like drastically different. You can't really get the sourcing tool to be super accurate on a rank. It's sort of like a big AI filter, but that's about it. That's what we found. Okay, yeah. So other questions. Let's see. What are some problems you've had in the past adopting new technology, specifically not ATSs, but like extensions on top of ATSs, like connectors to ATSs? Have you ever noticed that there's like a challenge there, or does it end up working? Kind of heard like mixed reviews on that from people, and I'm curious to learn more.
I think it depends on like your level of autonomy at your company and how big your company is a lot of times, because there's like these data protection and things like that that have to be considered. So sometimes I think larger companies, you have to run it through IT and executive leadership, and then some of the smaller companies are just like, okay, almost like have someone look at the policy and then okay it, and it's a lot faster. That's been my experience.
Got it. Okay, so it's like you want to try this other tool, but there's security review and compliance.
Yeah,
and
it just takes too long, and then then I lose interest or something.
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah.
I was gonna add that the biggest thing that I'm always looking for is folks will do a demo and they'll say, similar to how you showed us, like here's all the tools that we integrate with. And I think we've all made this mistake at least once, where we go, okay, great, it integrates, and then you'd sign the contract and you go to implement, and the integration actually doesn't work in the way you thought it would. And so I'm always looking for, when companies say they'll integrate with one of my core tools, like an ATS, I want to see the documentation, how I'm going to set that up. Am I using an API? Am I using webhooks in Greenhouse? And then I want to understand better. And I'm a little bit of a recruiting ops nerd, but and I know there's a few others on the call, but I also want to know, okay, exactly what fields are we pushing and pulling? And is this eventually going to require like any custom developer work? But yeah, so I think like one example that always sticks in my mind is like Bamboo HR and some other tools like I've heard, like Rippling, they say, oh yeah, we integrate with your ATS, but the integration pulls like the candidate's first and last name and email address, and then you need to manually type in everything else. So that's one thing I'm always looking for sure.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
One other thing actually that I was just reminded of, thank you, Andy, is the actual time to implement something like this, and like what it takes from the organizational side. That's been something that I've been burned on before.
Yeah. I can address that really quick on ours. It's a simple API integration. There's no custom development work. You basically just go through and it takes 30 seconds to integrate. But on the notion of like legal security review and that sort of thing, that of course takes a little bit more time to get a free trial rolling. We actually give you a free trial where you don't even need to sign with us and you can just test out the product and make sure that the integration works how you want it. But we're compliant on GDPR, CCPA, local law 144, which is the New York bias law. So we've been fine going through security review with everyone, but it does take a little bit of time there. But yeah, it's something that we've worked with a number of like larger multi-billion-dollar companies that are in trials right now, and it's been fine going through security review.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I won't take up any more of your time here. Thank you guys so much for all this, all this feedback and yeah, again, if any of you all want to do a free trial on this, happy to get that set up. And if you want to just email me at d@endorsed.ai, happy to do it.
Awesome, David.
Awesome.
Go ahead,
Thanks,
Mike.
Dave.
You take it off. You take it home.
Yeah, thank you, David. We will. You, me, and Amir will chat later. But
Awesome.
thank you so much, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having
Thank you,
me.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.